everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lottie and this is round 3 of the TBR Scrolls. So, it's been a month. I feel like it's been a really long time since I filmed a video as well. I got COVID. Honestly, I'm still recovering. I still haven't gone back to work yet since having COVID, so it's all been a bit of a shambles. But yeah, I had COVID. I didn't get to do as many videos in February as I would have liked to, but that's fine, we move on. Today we are doing my March TBR using my board game, the TBR Scrolls, based on Skyrim. It's a game that I have created myself. This is round 3, so if you would like a full rundown of the board and the rules, I will leave a link up top somewhere so that you can check out the playlist and watch episode 1 and 2. Continuing on from the fact that I've had COVID, really sorry if my energy is a little bit low or I feel like I'm a bit breathless or whatever. It's not fun. COVID is not fun. So first of all, we are going to run down my February TBR and if I read the books on that. In February, the first prompt we had was Zenithar, which was to go to my Goodreads TBR and put all the books in order and then pick the one that was the highest rated. And so for that we got Dogged by Emma Pursehouse, and I have read this one. Then we got Malakath, which was to read a book with a non-human main character, and for that I chose Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton, and I have read this. Then we had a bit of a stumble and got a few prompts that were repeated from January. So the first one for that was The Greybeards, which was to read an audiobook, and for that I chose City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I haven't read this one yet, but I do intend to have read it by the end of the month. There are still a few days left of February, and because I will be listening to this as well as reading it physically, I do think that I will be able to finish it before the end of February, so this is still to be read. Then we pulled the Thieves Guild card, which was to read a book with an anti-hero character, and so for that I chose Moxie by Jennifer Matthew, and I have read this one. And then finally we pulled the Riften card, which was to read a book with an urban setting, and so for that I chose House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I am still in the middle of this. I have literally 100 pages to go. This will definitely be finished by the end of February. I'm probably going to go and sit and finish it after I've finished filming this video. So yes, the big chunkster is nearly done. So out of all those 5 books, I have completed 3. I am about to finish 1, so I only have 1 left, and I definitely think I'm going to finish it. But because I haven't been very well this month, even if I don't finish City of Ashes, I'm not going to take a punishment in April, because I think I have a valid reason as to why I haven't read everything. It would be different if I just was literally like, I'm going to read something I'm going to read something completely irrelevant, or just like chose not to read anything at all. So yeah, that's that. I know as well I said in the last episode that because I had some accidents on the board that I didn't notice, I was going to take a punishment anyway, but I can't be bothered. It wasn't intentional, so yeah, and I just don't feel like I deserve to have a free pass this month because I haven't been very well. If you would like to hear my full thoughts and opinions on all the books that I was supposed to read in February, then please do check out my February wrap-up, which will hopefully be out at some point in the next few weeks. So now that we have got February out of the way, let's finally move on to what we're doing in March. So first things first, I am doing a rule change. So previously, if I landed on a blank white space, it simply meant to roll again and added a roll to the run in the month, but it didn't seem to actually do anything. I was adding a roll, but really we were still only really doing like 5 prompts. Sitting and thinking like, how can I make that space more interesting without having to basically create an entirely new pack of cards? And I have decided to make it into more of a like chance card space, using my TBR pot or jar or mug or whatever you want to call it. This mug I got in my November Afterlight by Illumicrate box, and I had already intended to use it during my TBR game for a couple of card prompts, I think. This basically has every single book that I own in it. It's already trying to pick one for me. As far as I'm aware, like I have sat and gone through all of my unread books and popped them on a little piece of paper in here, and I can then pick them, so it's a bit like a chance. So it's like I could get a book that I'm really excited to read or a book that I've really been putting off. It also has my audiobooks that I've got through Audible in there, and it also has my Kindle ebooks in here as well, and it has my ARCs in here as well. It should have every single book that I own that I haven't read yet in the pot. I have tried to add as I've been going along buying things, but I feel like I've either forgotten to add some in or some might be in there twice. If that is the case, oh well, like there's not anything I can do about it if that's going through every single one and starting again, which I'm not going to do. Also, with regards to series, when I was making like the pot and like putting the prompts in there, the books in there, I wrote down the name of the book in a series that I had yet to read. So I know for a fact that Knife Edge is in this pot. Obviously I've read Knife Edge at this point. So if, for example, I pulled Knife Edge, I would just read the next book in the series that I haven't read yet. So in this case, it would be Crossfire? No, Checkmate. Crossfire's the 5th one. So in this case, it would be Checkmate. I can't remember if I've put the Mortal Instruments series in here, because I'm obviously reading that for a read-along. So if I, for example, got this twice in a round and I pulled 2, like, well, that wouldn't happen really because I'd already have pulled it. But like, I don't know how to explain it, but like if I pulled, if I had 2 books from that series in the same TBR, obviously that defeats the point of it being a read along. I'm supposed to read 1 book a month, so I can't remember if I have put the Mortal Instruments series in here. So I think that's the only series that I have that isn't in here, as far as I'm aware. I feel like this is a really complicated explanation and it doesn't need to be. But basically this is like a chance pot. If you have any interesting names for it other than TBR jar, please feel free to suggest them in the comments, because it's not a jar, it's a mug. But I feel like I don't know what else to call it. So at the moment it's like the pot or the TBR jar. I think I've written down it as like pulling from the pot, pull from the pot for like the prompt. So yeah, but this is what I mean when I refer to that. So hopefully this will be getting some use. We do tend to land on the white spaces quite a lot. So I think we will pull from here quite a lot as well, which means it sort of randomizes a bit what I'm going to be reading in the month. So we will get on with the rolls in a moment. I do have quite a few books that I need to read this month for read-alongs and book clubs and buddy reads. We will try and squeeze those on to this TBR, and also I am doing 1 readathon in March. I didn't want to do any in February. I didn't think I was going to have the time to, and I was right because I've been really ill. But I'm hoping in March I'll be able to do at least this 1 readathon. Okay, with that being said, let's get on with the rolls. Okay, so back to the board then for the 3rd time. So last time we landed in the middle of the people and places bit over here. So that's obviously where we'll be starting from again. I have a feeling we are going to get to the end of the board in this round. And if that happens, I will literally we'll just move over to mark off again and then go around the board once more. All of the cards have been shuffled, hopefully properly this time, and yeah, so let's just get on with roll number 1. Like I said, new rules in play, so if we land on a white space, they will now, instead of being a roll again, be a pull from the pot. Okay, so roll number 1. 6. Oh, okay, and the first one that we land on is a white space, so that will be pulling from the pot. So after saying all of that about the pot, we landed on the pot. So I'm really excited to pick a book from here. I'm also really scared, like what if it's something that like I don't want to read yet, or it's not one of the many books that I need to read in March. Okay. So I have taken them all out and put them back in, like shuffled them a bit, so I'm going to give it another bit of a shake. Some of them are trying to open, so I'll stop looking. So let's pull 1. Okay, we're going to go with this one. God, what is it? Boy Queen. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but we've got Boy Queen. Boy Queen. Okay, so I bought this like, I think it was at the end of 2020, or I don't think it was early as 2019. I've had this for a while though. This is a contemporary about a teenage boy who becomes a drag queen, I think. And I've been really wanting to read it for ages, but I just haven't like had the urge to pick it up, or it hasn't fallen into like any prompts for any readathons or anything, and I'm so excited that I'm finally going to be reading this. I really thought that like March was going to be a very fantasy heavy month for me because all of the books that I have to read are fantasy books, and I'm really excited to have a light-hearted, hopefully light-hearted YA contemporary on here. This is by George Lester. And it says, Robin had it all figured out, a future on Broadway, a top secret boyfriend, and 2 ride or die best friends. Then all his worst nightmares came true. Now his life is a hot mess. With nothing left to lose, Robin falls wig first into the glittering embrace of drag and comes face to face with the queen he was always meant to be. Robin's about to learn that sometimes your new self is your true self. I'm so excited for this. I love drag, I love RuPaul's Drag Race, but I love the art of drag itself. I love watching drag. I'm going to see Juno Birch in April, which I'm super excited about. So yeah, I'm really excited to read a novel about one of my favourite like things. So I'm really excited to read this. Okay, roll number 2. 2. I think that's our first Standing Stones space. So we have got the Ritual Reviver book from a previous TBR that you didn't quite get to. So for our next prompt, we got a Standing Stones card, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've pulled a Standing Stones card. And I was thinking before I started filming, like, I haven't pulled a Standing Stones card yet, so that was a coincidence. So this one is the Ritual, which is to revive a book from a previous TBR that you didn't quite get to. This basically means any TBR I have ever made in the past, I can choose a book that I didn't get to. This includes the TBR Scrolls and it includes readathons. Obviously we are only on round 3 and I have kind of finished both of my previous TBRs for TBR Scrolls. So I was thinking, what book haven't I read on a previous TBR? And the main one that I could think of was The School for Good and Evil by Saman Chanani. It was on my Magical Readathon TBR in September, I think, for the prompt read a book with a school setting. And this was like the only one that I didn't get to, I think, on that TBR. So I guess I'll get to it now, which I hadn't really thought about reading this yet at this point after missing it on that TBR, but this is a series that I'm really interested in. I love the concept, I love the covers of all of the books, so I'm really excited to finally have a chance to actually dive into this series. This one says, every 4 years 2 children are stolen away from Gavaldon, never to return. Most children fear being taken to the School for Good and Evil, but not Sophie. She has dreamt all her life of being a princess and believes the school could be her chance. Her best friend Agatha has other ideas. When the 2 girls are taken, things don't quite go to Sophie's plan, because sometimes the princess and the witch don't look like they do in fairy tales. So I'm really excited about this. This is a middle grade series, but it is a long middle grade series. Like, these books are quite chunky. Like, I'm pretty sure this is nearly 500 pages. And my library is really weird, right? So in libraries, the way that we categorise children's books is like juvenile, so it'd be like your Rainbow Grey, for example, teen, which for some reason the Enemy series is categorised as teen, which I can kind of see, and then young adult, which is kept in the adult section of the library. This is firmly a middle grade series. Waterstones sell this as a 9 to 12 section, I believe, which is where I picked it up from. My library has it in young adult, which is for 16 to 18-year-olds. So I'm really interested to see how this reads, because I'm sure that the kids in this are like 11 or 12, like they're starting secondary school, I think, in the School for Good and Evil. So yeah, I'm interested to see how mature or immature this reads, but yeah, I'm really interested in the concept. This is the first in a series, so it's another series that I'm starting that I probably won't continue for a while, especially because this is the only book in the series that I have, but yeah, I'm excited to read it. Roll number 3. 6 again.
Okay, and that is Adra and Daedra.
And we have Molag Bal, who is the Prince of Corruption, and for that we need to read a horror. So the next card that we pulled was Molag Bal, who is the Prince of Corruption, and his prompt is to read a horror. I have chosen The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice for this one. This is the second book in the Vampire Chronicles, and I did say I had DNF'd this series. I have actually changed my mind on that simply because I watched the live show for Vampalong. We read book 1, which was Interview with the Vampire, and I really enjoyed the live show, and the guys convinced me to pick up book 2. So if I don't like this one, I will just DNF the series at this point. They've said together anyway that they were going to get to the third book, The Queen of the Damned, and see how they felt, and if they wanted to continue the series anyway. So I want to give this one a go because I was interested in the plot of this. It's just I didn't like the writing style in the first book, so that really put me off. But this one has chapters, which we are all very excited about. The first book doesn't have any chapters. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how this is going to go. This is obviously the second book, so I won't read the blurb to you, but in this one I think we are following the same concept where the interviewer is now interviewing Lestat, who is a character we see in the first book. Lestat hopefully is going to be a lot more interesting than Louis, who was the vampire in the first book. So I'm hoping that the narrative will be a little bit more interesting in this one. It's also, I think it's following Lestat's version of what happens in Interview with the Vampire, but I also think that it's mostly set in the 1980s, which I'm really interested in because it says Lestat is a rock star, so I'm also really interested in that concept. So yeah, this is the book I have chosen for Molag Bal. Roll number 4, and we have a 3,
Another Adra and Daedra.
And this one is Azura, Prince of Dusk and Dawn, read a book set in space. Okay, so the fourth one we have pulled is Azura, who is the Prince of Dusk and Dawn, and her prompt is to read a book set in space. Honestly, when I pulled this card, I nearly panicked because obviously this is for a sci-fi. None of the books that I have to read, I keep doing quotations because it's a game at the end of the day, but I need to read these books. Yeah, none of the novels that I want to read imminently are sci-fi. In fact, I don't think I have a lot of sci-fi to read at the moment, or books that are set in space. Also, my TBR is already looking quite chunky, and also with the other books I need to read, like it's a thick TBR. So for this one, I have chosen volume 1 of Saga, which is a sci-fi graphic novel series that I have been so excited to get started on. I'm just really excited to read this. This is majorly hyped. A lot of people have said it's like the best graphic novel series out there. Yeah, I'm just really excited to read this, and also because it is short, it's a comic, it will be an easy thing to slip onto my TBR. I don't really know much about this other than it's about 2 people from different species and they have a baby together, and I think there's like a war going on with their species. So yeah, this was gifted to me for my birthday from Kay, so yeah, thank you again to Kay, and yeah, I'm really excited to read this. And the final roll of March's TBR, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my god, we have landed exactly on Riften. And so finally, the last space that we landed on was strangely the last space on the board. Sus to me. We landed on Riften the space, not the card. There are 2 Riften prompts, and one of them is obviously the space on the board and one of them is the card. So yeah, this one was the space. So if you remember from my rules overview in my first TBR Scrolls video, if I land on one of the cities spaces, I use someone else's TBR game to pick choose a book for that. So for March, I have decided to go with Spoopy Hull's TBR game, Pin the Tail on the TBR cart. I have no idea how I'm going to do this because my TBR trolley is on carpet, so it doesn't move very well. I do have a thing I can use as a blindfold, but I just realised I have nothing I can use to like stick to it. So the only thing I can think of to use is this croc sticker as like a pointer, and so whichever way the toe of the croc is pointing, that will be the book I choose. So if you're not familiar with Spoopy Hall, I don't know why you aren't, she's amazing. Her TBR game is to spin her cart around, spin herself around, and just stick a thing on it to pick a book. Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to work. Okay, so let's go to me being chaotic, trying to do pin the tail on the TBR cart. I feel like this could either go really well or really badly. So this is my trolley. She's very heavy and she's very difficult to spin, and obviously there's some gaps for the books, but we're gonna do our best. I'm totally out of shot right now. Yeah, so I really haven't break anything, especially myself. I've got my Afterlight face mask. You know, when this came, I was literally like, you know what I could use this for? Right, so when I put it on, I literally cannot see anything, but I'm gonna shut my eyes as well, mainly because it hurts my eyes. We're gonna attempt to use the croc sticker like this. I don't want it to ruin the other stickers I've got on here though, so I hope I can peel it off afterwards. I can't see because of the way I've got my phone. Okay, I'm probably going to be out of shot when I stand up to spin myself, so don't mind me. Should I peel off the back first? I wish I had some blue tack. Should I? Oh, I think I know where I've got some. I can't be bothered. I can't bother to go find some blue tack. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to spin the cart. I don't know how many times Spoopy Hall does hers. I'm going to say 3 times, and then I'm going to spin myself 3 times, and then hopefully you'll be able to see the chaos, and then I'm going to hopefully pick a book from the trolley. Cool. Right, I'm going to peel this off first. Okay, I've got the sticky stick, and I've got this on. Okay, so let's do a round of pin the tail on the TBR cart. Oh shit. Oh, it stuck my hair. Where's it? See, it definitely works better for spoops because hers just sort of rolls around. Okay, hopefully I don't hurt myself. So 1, 2, 3. I'm just gonna do 5. 4, 5. Oh god. Okay. Where is it? Oh, hello. That's the door. Okay. Okay. There's the books. I'm gonna think of where my books are now. Shall we go for the middle row? Okay. I don't know where the toe is. Shit. That one. Okay. What have I chosen? Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Are you having a laugh? Are you having a laugh? I'm not reading this. Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you having a laugh right now? Do you see how fat this book is? Fuck my life. Save that for another day. I'm not happy. I really thought I was going to have it easy this month because I didn't have to read a Sarah J Maas 800-page book. But instead we've got Samantha Shannon, The Prairie of the Orange Tree, another 800-page book. Fucking kidding me. None of these books that I've picked this month has been on my TBR that I need to read. I'm blaming you, Spoops. This is your fault. Okay, so yeah, Pin the Tail and TBR Cart chose The Prairie of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a standalone adult fantasy book. I don't know what it's about, to be honest. It says a world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. I am really excited to read this. Don't let me fool you. I do really want to read this. I've heard so many great things about it. I've heard so many great things about Samantha Shannon. I'm so breathless. It's an 800-page book. Thank God I chose Saga. Can you imagine if I'd chosen like another novel to read? Right, so yeah, that is our final TBR Scrolls book for the month. This is what my March TBR is looking like from the TBR Scrolls. At the moment, this is standing at 2,392 pages, which is a lot, but I think it is doable. It's just there's not a lot of room for mood reading in the month, which I like to try and leave a little bit of room for mood reading, but sadly that's just not possible. So yeah, that's that. That's not all that I need to read in March though. So of course I am doing By the Angel Along, which was created by Becca Fall. And so the book for March in that read along is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare, which is the third book in the Mortal Instruments series. Obviously I'm still yet to read City of Ashes, so I'm hoping that I will definitely finish that in February and not have to carry it over so that I can just read this. If worse comes to worse, I might have to read this in the first week of April because the live shows are usually like the first weekend the following month, so hopefully I'll actually be able to fit this on too. I'm also going to be participating in a Patreon buddy read on Ro from Wandering Worlds' Patreon in March. In March we're going to be reading Silk Fire by Zabi Elor. This is a arc that a lot of us have been approved for on NetGalley, and we have heard a lot of things about it, which is why we want to read it in March, but it doesn't come out until July, so I'm a bit like I might just end up having to postpone this until closer to the release date. So this is a like modern fantasy, like I think it's technology mixed with fantasy elements. It's also very, very queer, I've heard. I think there is also like a polyamorous relationship in there. Yeah, I don't really know much about what it's about other than it's high fantasy. I've heard that it's about 500 pages, but Goodreads isn't giving me a page number, so I don't know how accurate that is. So yeah, this is a e-arc that I will hopefully be reading in March. And finally, I am going to be participating in Spoopy Hole's Patreon like book club buddy read for March and April, which we are reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I've never read a V.E. Schwab before, so I'm really excited to give this a go. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I think at this point I am going to be reading it in April because I do not have the space or the time to fit it onto my March TBR. I have reserved it from the library, so I will be trying to read it as soon as I can. What was that? Yeah, that's probably more of a April TBR thing. Speaking of the library, I actually have 2 books out at the moment, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to read them in March. So just to quickly mention those, we've got Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin, which is a translated fiction like dystopian story, and then I've also got Cowgirl by Kirsty Eyre, which is a sapphic contemporary story. I'm really interested to read both of these, so I would like to read them at some point, especially because they're from the library. I would like to try and prioritise them, but because they're not on my TBR, like I can't do much about it. So they probably are going to end up being on my wait list for quite a while. I mean, I know I'm supposed to like return books to the library, but as a member of staff I don't get fines, so I can always just keep renewing it and hope for the best. I am participating in Orillium Gear Up, which is hosted by G from Book Roast, which is a like mini readathon to get ready for the main Orillium magical readathon she's doing in April. So this is a week-long readathon. I will leave a link in the description to the like announcement video where you can learn more about it. So this is sort of like a continuation on from the magical readathon back in September. I have completed all of the create your character prompts. I think I'll talk about my character and what choices I've made previously in like a separate video about magical readathon when like the main magical readathon is happening, I think, because this is just a week-long readathon with 2 prompts to fulfill. So I am in the Order of the Crescent for that readathon, so my legacy prompt is to read a book to fulfill your animal companion. I would like to choose a deer as my animal companion. I don't know how difficult it's going to be to fulfill, because I feel like, you know, there are like books out there, if they've got like a rural setting, there's bound to be like a deer that just like passes by at some point in the book. Like I can really think of specifically in Twilight, like they keep talking about elk in Twilight, and I feel like that could fulfill the deer general thing. However, I don't know if any of the books on my TBR are going to feature a deer at all in the story. I definitely don't think that there's a deer on like the cover, and there's not like a deer in the title. So we will see. I might have to stretch this a little bit and see how we go, because I do really want a deer to be my animal companion. I just envision my character, because she's an earthling, to like have this companion with like a deer, and like she rides deer around the forest or something, like a horse. I don't know, right, okay, anyway. So yeah, I would like to try and read a book with a deer in it for that prompt. We'll see if any of those books can fulfill that. Let me know in the comments if you know if a deer appears at all in any of those books, please. And then secondly, for my conduit, I would like to choose a quarterstaff, but the prompt for that is to read a book from a quartet. I don't think any of the books that I've got on my TBR for this month are part of a quartet specifically, so if I can't fulfill a quarterstaff, I will just happily choose a staff instead, and that prompt is to read a book that is part of a series. And I have several books that are part of a series on my TBR this month, so I shall hopefully definitely fulfill that prompt. So this is what my final March TBR is looking like, obviously minus Silkfire because it's an ebook. Yeah, it is very chunky. I'm a little bit worried now because a lot of these books are quite long, but because one of them's well, 2 of them in fact are YA, I'll probably listen to City of Glass on audiobook if I can, and also one of them's a middle grade. I think it shouldn't be too bad, and also one of them is a graphic novel, so I feel like it's not going to be too bad, but we will see. Yeah, it's going to be a stretch, I think, to try and get all of these books read in the month of March. But fortunately I have 2 extra days in March. No, I have more than 2. I can't count. I have extra days in March compared to February to read all of these, so that'll be great. So I think that is it for my March TBR. I'm so sorry that this video is literally like 1,000 years long, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below what you're reading in March. I can't believe we are in March already in 2022. I feel like this year is going so quickly. If you haven't already and would like to, please do consider subscribing to my channel. Hopefully I can be a little bit more present on YouTube this month, because I've been really ill. I've been really ill, guys. It's not been fun. But yeah, if you would like to leave a comment but you don't know what to say, leave a little orange emoji for the Prairie of the orange tree, which snuck its way onto my TBR this month to just bite me in the ass. Yeah, so yeah, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with a new video. Bye. What is that weird stain? Ew, I just seen a weird stain on my book. It was so grim. Anyway, so, oh fuck. Actually, I'll count how many pages in my days. Oh fuck, my fucking fuck's sake. Fucking hell.